Hello everyone, this is Youth the Dragon, and welcome back to another episode of Fire Emblem Heroes. This time around, we once again are on our way back into Vault, and of course, things probably aren't going to go well next season, but at least we had the sheriff for our bonus this week. Reasonable amount of replays this week, and of course we're using literally the same team as last time, except instead of Odor, I believe we're using Zeros, because why not? For the extra attack, now straight up they don't need a slaughter seal, because of course it's good ol' Brave Dimitri. So I can just hit end turn, of course, because he has damage reduction against AoEs as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But he's got Ether for the healing, and of course we don't have Fatal Smoke. Otherwise, pun intended, that might be fatal. And so, of course, they can just keep hitting end turn. No real consequences for doing so. And of course, Ascended Q, I'm not going to be doing anything at this point. Pretty straightforward. Don't even need a seal slot or a C-skill. A C-skill honestly doesn't change much. A lot of the time for infantry units. If anything, I guess if you're running tier 4 smoke skills or drives or something, I'm not. I guess they're kind of impractical for infantry units, but rip Doom. Overall on offense this week, pretty straightforward, of course, because we're not involved. All we have to do is not completely lose the match. Forehead. Definitely some annoying matchups. Mortis, or however the heck you pronounce his name, honestly, not too bad for us to deal with. Was honestly kind of surprised that Legendary almost no follow-up was able to one-round KO him a lot of the times. I guess it's because the problem is he's a mythic, so as long as he's not bonus, he doesn't have a ton of HP and overall bulk. Most of his bulk comes from his skills, of course, naturally, because I believe his base kit, if a foe initiates combat and he has more than 25% HP, which generally probably should at the start of the match, it's going to debuff the opponent's attack by 16, I think, which is pretty solid for a tank. But here our opponent is going after the ether structures, smartly uses Stacy's skill to get access to it, but then they do this for extra meme flexing, I suppose, because I'm guessing our opponent, this is a rematch by the way, and our opponent decided that they were going to try and copy us, I suppose, and break all of the structures before winning the match, but they already failed because they activated the Volt Trap And of course, since all we have to do pretty much is not completely lose an offense match, we were just sacking units because we felt like it. There were some that were not intentional sacks, but whatever. It's more of a did not pay attention to the order that the unit was given, so that's a fate. I think in was it our last match of the season? Either that or second to last match of the season. We had a Brave Crown use a fate change when I thought he wasn't going to, because I didn't expect the unit to be where they ended up being, because I didn't notice the movement order with the drawback, I believe it was. So that's unfortunate, but what can you do? And here, our opponent can just keep hitting on turn. No real drawbacks of doing so, except for Duma actually doing some damage. We of course did get Ascended Thune recently. I've been using her in Tempest Trials, and I gotta say, she really needs Hardy Fighter, and even then, at this stage of the game, already. She is not the best pick for Hardy Fighter on near save or far on either save spectrum, so very awkward. At least we have the Florette from her. That's more value than most units will give us. But here our opponent has some nice smite coverage. But that's about it. They don't have Wings of Mercy to smite Regan again to reach the infrastructure, so that's unfortunate. So of course, we are slowly but surely getting more units for free because we're not actively going out for units. Honestly, if I did want to go for units, I probably would have summoned on the Mythic Heroes banner because there are of course two pretty solid mythics and Anima Mythics, Arval and the new Mortis. And then there's also, I'm just gonna call him Gato, even though it's definitely most likely incorrect. Just because he could theoretically be useful, I don't really know. Mostly for when he's bonus, pretty much. That's about it. Because of course, if you compare how I would probably use him to air, pretty much the same thing. The main difference, of course, he attacks res, she attacks defense. She's a lot faster than him, so she has better chances to actually double and kill, even though, of course, he has the guaranteed follow-up attack. We all know at this point, there's plenty of no follow-up, there's plenty of denying guaranteed follow-up attacks and whatnot, so realistically speaking, a lot of the times he's only going to get to attack once. He of course would be able to tank some units better, because he has his damage reduction, but air also can be much tankier as well, because she has good healing in Mystic Boost, and of course Lift your Burger Pine, and of course she can stack shenanigans with her kit versus his kit. But obviously the real deal breaker is that we have air at +10, and we would probably not have him at +10. So of course we'd be scoring less theoretically with running him, unless of course he's bonus, then sure. At worst we would score, I think, equal. But here of course, once again, our opponent doing their thing. Let's see what they do. First they're gonna go hit end turn and activate the duo skill, or harmonize skill. Whoops. Interesting. Yeah, not too big of a surprise there. Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure what they were expecting. I suppose maybe they were banking on Legendary Lilina using her AoE first, but leaving Micaiah in range clearly is not the strat. There was no way she's going to tank double AoE anyways, but yeah. People seem to forget that Legendary Lilina does have bootleg Freddy Variant. Speaking of bootleg, the Hero Rises results came out, and not much of a surprise there. Plenty of memes, but honestly, once again, we are probably just going to auto-skip. There's really no set of units who could end up on the banner that would convince us to summon for him. Maybe if we really want to pull a certain copy of a unit, but like for example, even if Duo Chrome makes it. I know I said a while back that we were going to go +10 Duo Chrome, and we were well on our way to getting enough orbs to essentially guarantee getting him to +10 at this point, even though we only have one copy. I just feel like it might not be worth it at this point, just because of course he'd mostly be for support, and I feel like we can probably do better on our investments than just casually what should we call it? We can do better than just casually investing into basically a peer support unit. Because of course, when we first invest into Legendary Crom, he has great support to change fate. But boy, back then, he was an absolute offensive powerhouse. And also, pseudo-tanky. It was definitely annoying to deal with back then. And even now, occasionally, he can still nuke stuff because of no follow-up seal. He just can't deal with guard because we don't have tempo on him. And honestly, I don't think I would prefer tempo over lull attack defense because the lull really helps him out in a ton of matchups. Because of course, we're running Deadeye on him, and the big thing about Deadeye is you really want to do as much base damage as you can because Deadeye is going to double it. So lull attack defense versus tempo basically comes down to field buffs. And of course, the standard nowadays is +6. +7 is not hyper common. But we have ourselves Harsh Command plus means here. So that's unfortunate. And of course Saros is not going to do anything there. Unfortunately, of course, Legendary Lilna is a rip, but they were not expecting the Harsh Command plus, so that is a rip. I completely forgot what I was saying. 10 out of 10. What was it? 10 out of 10 continuity of commentary. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what I was talking about. Seems derp, man. The Legendary Crown. We were talking about investing into Duo Crown. There we go. So like Duo Crown at this point, the problem is he's basically just a stat guy in terms of combat. He has Deadeye, sure, to carry through basic damage reduction, like Mortis's damage reduction, but against hardy fighter units, he's basically an absolute dud, because he's, of course, super reliant on his guaranteed follow-up attacks, so then you gotta use no follow-up, but if you're using no follow-up, then you're losing out on stats somewhere. If you're losing stats out on your seal, if you want to run in your seal slot, or some utility if you're running it in B slot. So for example, you might not be running lull attack defense or speed defense if you're going through a faster route on him. And that's not great, because again, running most of the time people are running Deadeye on him, and again, it scales off of, directly scales off of the damage you do. So his attack stat's not absolutely through the roof, so it's already not a great look going forward. Because his weapon only gives him +5 attack when he initiates or repeats within 2 spaces of an ally. And you got units like Mortis nowadays who just casually debuff attack by at least 10 points. Mortis gets 16. 10 out of 10. But what can you do? So, Duo Crom himself, he struggles to hit 100 attack by himself. He really needs help from other allies, and it's not a great thing. You know what else is great is our opponent here deciding to hit end turn the way they do, because we get more memes. Harsh Command Plus not quite working out how we wanted for the first time, but the second time, I mean, at least Pride Lilna got the attack into Ascended Fiorm. Absolute dud. But now they just have to contend with Ascended Fiorm. That's about it. And of course they're running 4 ranged units at this point, and Legendary Lilna is stuck behind good old Tactics Room. So I'm guessing they should be able to win with Brave Marianne, especially now that Legendary Lilna is split apart. That should be pretty straightforward. Or they can bait as well, like so. Makes sense. It's not like our Ascended Fiorm's going to win this matchup. And There's a piece of structure. But I'm pretty sure Brave Marianne probably could have won. Of course, she has her damage reduction. She has minus speed though. Ooh. So maybe not. Well, that's something where you can damage calculate to see. But here we are. Last replay of the season so far. Pretty straightforward. Don't see really what we're going to do against this team. Not sure how they're going to approach it. I would guess well, I guess I just noticed that Brave Eric is there. But we're unable to double because of Sather's given the denying follow-up attack. In fact, there really should be an actual term for it rather than just saying it does. It's too many words, Capo. Here we go again with the harsh command plus memes. You all know where this is going. Fallen Edelgard's not even transformed there, so no damage reduction for her. And of course that's about all that's going to happen. It's unfortunate that Theros unable to double Brave Erica. That would have been nice, but Sather, given that effects of nice follow-up attacks, is pretty solid. Wait, that's Intercease. Wait, what? Where is it? No, it's right here. I just missed it. 10 out of 10. And with that overall, honestly, not too bad. Of course, we don't have the bonus defense mythic, so we lose plenty of lift. I believe it's 140 or something this season, but again, doesn't matter. We're going back up to vaults. We don't have Gato for offense bonus, but at least we have Sothis, who's going to, of course, be completely useless on defense, but what can you do? That is not the right page. Resonant battles, pretty straightforward, of course, because we have awakening bonus, so it's always cakewalk. Allegiance battles, we had some problems initially because we didn't approach the map correctly. We were going to the right instead of up. So we fixed that, pretty straightforward, easily top 1k. But of course you can see slowly but surely over the months we're still slipping. Feels bad, man. And of course arena, we're not trying at all because this guy's bonus, and with the new arena changes, you don't even need a heavily merged legendary Dimitri to score like an absolute monster. So there's absolutely no possible way for us to stay in tier 21. But it's not a problem because next week's bonus units aren't great for us either, so it works out. And well, overall, we were using Alir this season, and she's fine. I mean, I had to run no follow-up seal on her for sure. Definitely questionable in terms of actually being able to proc specials, of course, actually doing damage without Luna and whatnot. And of course, when the opponents had damage reduction themselves, she definitely struggled. So like Brave Dimitri, for example, the only way she could beat him is by unprocking his weapon, by having him too far away from his allies. So that's when you know that's not a good look. But overall, fun shenanigans with her mobility. It definitely feels limiting just because of how the arena maps are generally structured, to go more diagonally rather than in one direction. So her charge is kind of awkward in some situations, and positioning of Close Call 4 was definitely a bit weird at times. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to attack because then I would expose one of my other units and she would move back after attacking. But yeah, that's probably because I'm not used to it. So maybe someday we can use her in some bootleg Gale Force team, but until then we'll be back when the results drop in.